Alrighty, welcome back to episode 11 reactions for Bad Batch season 3. We're getting close to the end. Yes, we have 4 more episodes left. They're 15. Um, and it's starting to get really crazy. I mean, we just like in our last reaction, we're talking about how the direction of the show is going to go. And so I think this episode kind of was in I guess an impactfulness wasn't as impactful, I would say, in the last episode, except for the last 10 minutes, or the last like 5 minutes, which we'll talk about. Um, but any initial thoughts? Like, what are you guys' just overall reaction to it first? Then, Jason, do you want to start us off?
Oh yeah, sure. So honestly, this episode was pretty exhilarating, but it definitely left us on a pretty big cliffhanger. I was pretty torn about Hunter and Wrecker. I honestly was. It just didn't feel like a fair fight, and that's obviously what they were going for. But my biggest takeaway is that more than I ever have before, CX2 is looking a lot more like Tech. He's looking a lot more like Tech every like in this episode, and I don't know. I don't believe it, but we gotta consider it at this point because of the little things that I know. Like we noticed, at least I noticed that he was doing, on the side. But yeah, it was a great episode, and obviously Omega has matured so much, even just in 10 episodes. So, and then obviously Crosshair had a big moment as well. But yeah, solid episode for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting episode. I liked the cliffhanger ending. It felt kind of like the Clone Wars episode where you're like watching 6 episodes in a row and they're just dropping you on cliffhangers and it's like we don't care. We're not going to give you anything to help you sleep at night. Um, some healthy pushback for you there, Jason. I agree. He is revealing himself. The operative is revealing himself to be somebody that is important. um, Again, we said maybe he's Echo. In a past video, I threw out a wild theory about maybe like a dark clone of Crosshair. I was getting more Crosshair vibes from the operative in this episode. Obviously, he hits a crazy snipe, takes out the pilot who's driving the Republic gunship. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe he's got to be someone important. If they find some way for him to be some type of clone of Crosshair, or maybe some clone that has all the aspects of the members of the Bad Batch, he's going to be a big character reveal. So I thought he was interesting to watch in this episode. Again, it felt like like you're saying, Jason, a lot of the main characters, a lot of the members of the Bad Batch were kind of sidelined for the episode, which was tough. But again, I think we see the central theme in this season, which has been Omega and Crosshair are really the ones that are making decisions. And I think, without saying too much about the end of the episode and just kind of my overall reaction, we got to see Omega and Crosshair make decisions that Hunter and Wrecker wouldn't have made. And I think they were the right decisions. But we'll get into that as we move through. I thought it was a cool episode.
Yeah. No, and I'm kind of leaning towards what you said, Jake. It honestly, during the entire show, and I'm curious, I want to get back to what you said, Jason. I want to hear why you think there's like tech aspects to the assassin. I mean, to me, when he was talking, a lot of his voice modulation would go out a little bit, or at least what I think would go out, and it almost sounded like Crosshair was talking. And so I was just like, oh my goodness, is Jake actually like, did Jake just pull out this theory that's actually going to happen? Um, which will be cool because I mean, it is kind of a nod to an old Star Wars story about two force sensitive clones. They weren't like Republic clones; they were just clones of, I guess, like some sort of Jedi. I don't remember. But they end up fighting for the Republic, but one of them ended up turning evil and the other one turning good, right? And they were both like they fought each other and end up the evil one. I mean, spoilers for a story that's like 20 plus years old. The evil one ended up killing himself. But I am very interested to hear what Jason thinks about that tech aspect. But I will give him time here soon. I want to get to the point where we're kind of seeing everyone's decision on Pabu and kind of like what they're doing, right? Like Wrecker, Hunter is feeling something in the wind. He's like, "Okay, we got to get prepared and go." And they're saying all their goodbyes. And there was this really precious moment um, with Shep's daughter. I think it's like Cheyenne or like Shiana or whatever. Um, and Omega in their little hall of treasures. And she's like, "Well, we want to put down like a treasure to remember that we were here." And she ends up pulling out Tech's goggles. And I'm not gonna lie, like that, there was some misty eyes at that moment. There were some tears that came to my eye when it was just like she just pulled it out and she's just holding there, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a treasure that she's gonna leave behind, you know. So I'm just curious, did you guys have any thoughts about that?
No, yeah, again, very, very touching moment. One of the reasons why I really hope that the operative isn't Tech, right? Because if the operative is Tech, then it kind of takes away from that, like those feelings and the significance of Tech's death, right?
Yeah.
Again, we can't have everyone coming back to life and dying and stuff. I think it just takes away a little bit from the emotional kind of significance of that action. But yeah, like I loved Omega pulling that out. I felt like it was very fitting for her to leave that behind on Pabu as their treasure of what they could leave behind. So
Yeah, and I need to clarify, I don't want it to be Tech. I just felt like it could be. But yeah, I agree. Great sentiment for sure.
Cool. Yeah. And I guess kind of going along, finally, the kind of probably the biggest moment of the entire show, you know, again, despite the last 5 minutes, the Empire ends up finding Pabu and finding this planet that honestly, like they for the last season and a half, um, they were that was kind of like the clandestine island. No one was the Empire was never went to that planet before. They're never going to go there, you know. But they finally got there because the operative was able to track down Fee, and kind of Fee was the reason to that almost betrayed the Bad Batch, which is kind of sad to think because it's like first Sid, the person that they first trusted, betrayed them, and then Fee unknowingly, but like still end up betraying them. So it's like it's kind of back to Bad Batch just being by themselves, kind of having no allies. So
Well, and it said that he tracked down a Trandoshan who led him to Fee. So he
right,
found her again, right?
right, exactly, which is interesting.
well, I thought like that
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
of itself, since you brought that up, right? How many Trandosians do we know that are related to the Bad Batch and related to Fee?
One.
One, right? The character
One.
that we all hate, Sid, right? And
Yeah,
so it's like he's like I hope that was their subtle way of saying that like the
she's
clone
been taken care
assassin,
of.
yeah, like he took care of Sid, you know, like Sid's finally been brought to justice. So I don't know if that was a
uh,
subtle nod to like, yo, he offed her and the Star Wars franchise can sleep well at night knowing that, you know, like the Bad Batch has been avenged. But yeah, I thought that was definitely a cool nod for sure.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, kind of going on, a majority of the story kind of happened with the Empire on Pabu. You know, the operative comes in, he takes out their ship, which ends up incapacitating Wrecker, and Wrecker's almost like I honestly thought, oh great, here we go, Wrecker's dead, because I thought that like when they were looking out like with like his like the binocs, he looks out into the water, and I just thought it was just Wrecker's body just floating there. And I was like, you're really just gonna kill him off like that? Are you kidding me?
Nah,
He's a hero, and they're gonna do that to him. But luckily, they didn't. But yeah, I guess for the majority of the part, what did you guys think about that? What about the whole Empire kind of finding Pabu and them almost basically uh, creating like a blockade and stuff, and just kind of taking over?
Well, it's like at this point, you think they'd like put some type of sensors in their caves, you know,
Right.
like what's up with that? Like just being super ignorant of potential. But that
well,
was probably one of my biggest takeaways. I was like, come on, guys, like you can be a little better than that. Like you
Right.
even have Bad Batch install the stuff. Like they have the tech, you know, they have the stuff to do it.
yeah, no, that was like one of my big things with actually with the episode. Like, Yeah, the operative is a smart guy, right? And he's obviously trained in stealth and tracking and all these different things. But like when he finds Fee's ship and he breaks into like hacker system and stuff, it's like, bro, the car alarm went off, but she just didn't hear it, you know? And then
Right.
he gets to Pabu, and when he's flying onto the planet, sensors go off on the Marauder, right? And then he uses his device to like turn him off, and then like Wrecker walks onto the ship and he doesn't hear it. So I'm like, bro set off 2 car alarms that no one heard. But like at least the Bad Batch on Pabu should like be more equipped for that, especially after what just happened with Ventress, right?
Right.
So that
And
was one
that's
area where I was like, okay, yeah, maybe he's tech, right? Maybe they're trying to say he's like good with the systems and stuff, but you'd think that the Bad Batch would be smarter than that.
and that's my biggest thing was he literally landed in the same cave that Ventress did. Like Ventress came in
Looked like
right. At least that's what I thought. Like it literally looked like he came in the same cave. It's like you've literally had someone sneak in there before. How are you not going to set up like some sort of alarm saying like, oh, if anyone comes here, well, at least we'll know. But yeah, I mean, he comes in, he wreaks havoc, and then the Empire is looking for them, right? And they kind of split off to kind of Hunter's being Hunter, doing the leader thing, trying to go do the hard work while he's trying to take care of his team. But I think the most important part to me with the episode was when Omega was just like kind of coming to this crisis where she's like, "This is all because of me." So I know what I need to do, right? I mean, we kind of felt that was going to happen, that she was going to kind of have that self-sacrifice. But the fact that I love that, like, that Crosshair at the beginning, he was like, "No, this isn't a viable plan. This isn't going to work. There's too many unknown variables. We can't do this." And then all of a sudden, Omega's just like, "Listen, I need to do this. Otherwise, people are going to suffer and people are going to die." And Crosshair kind of comes to that and was like, "All right, like." I just wonder if that conversation had taken place with Hunter, how different would that be, right? He'd probably be like, "No, wait, we're gonna try to find something else." But it's like Crosshair and Omega had this like connection where it's like, "Hey, I trust her. She was the one that broke out of Tantus without like I just helped shoot things, right? I didn't help her in any other way. She had the entire plan." And so it was another level of trust that Crosshair had with Omega. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
So
yeah,
I really think that because they've been to Tantus together, they trust this plan. Whatever this plan is, they trust it. And because Hunter and Wrecker haven't been, they, like Jake said at the beginning, they would not have been about this plan. Because they don't know what Tantus is, and they don't know they can't truly understand what they're up against in Tantus. And so I think Omega trusts herself and Crosshair to outsmart the Empire again, which might be ignorant, which truly might be their downfall. But very interesting that because Crosshair did fight back. He did. He said he wasn't about it at first, but yeah, the maturity and the teamwork by them ultimately that fell short with Crosshair not being able to shoot the back of the ship with the tracker. Definitely kept the suspense going. So
Right.
yeah, no, and it's just like I said at the beginning, like I can't see Hunter and Wrecker making that decision. If they're up there in the room with Omega, they're ready to go out there and go down fighting every clone or stormtrooper that gets in their way on the planet, and that's going to be their final stand. They're going to die on that hill. And so I think it had to be Crosshair again. Like you said, there was some pushback. He was opposed to the plan initially, but I think he has a more, like he said in the beginning of the season, right? Being the sniper, right? You have to see all the variables around you. I think he can understand that and let go of Omega enough to go and make that decision, more so than Hunter and Wrecker, right? So I think that was really big. But yeah, moving to kind of what you said, Jason, I think that was a big point in the end of the episode was you thought, oh, for sure, Crosshair is going to come in here. He's going to save the day. He's going to put the tracker on the ship, and he missed the shot, right? So again, like plan didn't go the way they thought it would, and now they're going to have to figure something out. But I actually was kind of happy that he missed the shot. I think you could have made an argument like, he delivers, he clutches up when he needs to, but at the same time too, there's a lot that happened to him on Tantus that he still has to sort out before he's going to be able to figure out whatever's going on with him and that ability to be a sharp shot like he was before.
Yeah, and I mean, what's gonna be interesting to me is the conversation that Hunter and him are gonna have after, right? The thing is like Hunter and Wrecker have been kind of the caretakers of Omega at this point. It's like, no, you're a little girl, I'm gonna protect you, sort of thing, right? But Crosshair has seen Omega in dire crisis, right, on Tantus, and seen how she's able to figure things out. And so it's almost like that conversation those two had was like two individuals who are on equal level. Be like, okay, I trust you. I know you can do this. Because he's seen her. He's not another dad, right? He's not like another caretaker where it's like, well, I need to protect you. It's like, no, I know you can handle yourself. So I know this is going to work out. And I agree with you, Jake. I think that was the hugest part was he, was fighting off. I was thinking it's going to be another Clone Wars episode where it's like right up until the last minute, you think it's gonna fail, but they end up succeeding and they end up winning in the end, right? Victory. But it didn't. It wasn't like that at all. Crosshair misses, and now they're back to square one. Right? They lost Omega. They're going back to some place that they still have zero idea where to go. And at least they have Crosshair, who potentially could have a better bearing on how to get back there. But even then, and so it is going to be something cool to see in these next couple episodes what Crosshair is going to do to kind of get out of that mental funk, and is he going to be back to his crack shot ways. And so honestly, that was a crazy part of the episode. There's not really much I want to talk about unless you guys want to bring something up, but that I'm excited that was good. That was good storytelling. It's not just the heroes always win in the end, which we saw in this episode. It's like there's consequences to taking a risk like that.
Yeah. Well,
So.
let me tell you some of the reasons about tech. Why I think it's tech.
Oh yeah, bring it up.
So first thing, I was scouring Twitter about this because I always do that after I watch the episodes, and someone brought up the use of a data rod to hack Fee's ship, and I'm like, okay, tech use data rods all the time. And then he used the word domicile. And there's only one person in all of Star Wars that's ever used the word domicile before, and it's Teg. Jake's point about the sniper was a big one. That contradicts that and maybe veers it towards a Crosshair clone, which honestly still makes a lot of sense to me. But when Omega the last part was when Omega was, being taken back to his ship, he was gentle. And it seemed like he kind of had a relationship with her already. And so those kind of points were kind of things where I was like, oh, I could see where they're trying to either make us think that it's tech, or it's someone that's has a past with someone with Bad Batch. So
I like that. That is really cool.
Interesting point.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Well, all right, so let's get into ratings here. Going ahead. Do you want to start us off, Jason?
Sure. Pretty solid episode. I was gonna say about an 8 out of 10. Lots of great stuff. Lots of great action. Big decisions being made. Great character development. I'm so sick of this CX2 though. I'm so sick of him. How have we not been able to take him out? In the season 1, we took him out so fast. It was a 2-episode, hiatus. And then now it's this guy is better than all of us combined and outsmarts us every time. I'm ready for Bad Batch to pull their heads out and be like, you know what? He's not better than all 4 or 5 of us combined, I think not having Echo has honestly hurt that a lot. I think he not being there has been really interesting, and I'm curious how there's only 4 episodes left and we're not seeing him in it right now. So very intriguing, but yeah, 8 out of 10 for what we got in this episode.
Yeah, I'd go a little bit lower. I'd give that a 7.5. I thought there were some cool moments. Again, cool episode, but overall, when I was watching, I just felt a little underwhelmed. Like I was like, okay, classic Star Wars. Empire shows up. They want to burn everything until they get what they want. It wasn't really until the end of the episode when we really see the interaction between Omega and Crosshair, and kind of pulling apart that decision of Omega, to be willing to sacrifice herself, and as well Crosshair's willingness to kind of carry out that plan, as well as the anticipation of what's coming next. Right? How are they getting back to Tantus? Is it going to be Crosshair that sorts everything out and finds a way back? Is it going to be Emery somehow coming in and taking kind of pity on Omega, on Tantus? I think there's a lot coming in that direction, but yeah, overall about a 7.5 for me.
Cool. I'm gonna go right in the middle between you two. 7.75. I think it wasn't that kind of like you said, there wasn't a lot of action that I would say would kind of consider it to be like a huge episode for me, and there wasn't so much that kind of further kind of gave me like more anticipation. I mean, until the last like 10 minutes where we're like, okay, the Crosshairs get fighting and then he ends up losing the fight, that the most important part of the plan, which was tracking him, right? And Omega just probably thinks that he tracked him, but in reality he missed, and he's gonna have to like live with that consequence. So that's going to be interesting for me, but I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited to kind of go and see how the repercussions of what happened on Pabu is going to catch up with the Bad Batch, or how they're going to use that to kind of project them forward. So
Question: when y'all
7.75.
say that, when y'all say that he missed, we're all saying that it was a good shot, but it wasn't fast enough, right? Because he literally it was on point, but the ship flew way too fast, right? Am I remembering that correctly, or did he completely just veer and it was just a bad shot?
I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily like, oh, the ship was too fast, whatever. Like at the end of the day, like a miss is a miss in my book.
Yeah.
Like he could have had the shot lined up before, but like Crosshair from season 7 of Clone Wars hits that shot 10 out of 10 times. He anticipates where the ship's at. He anticipates the speed. He sees everything to hit that shot. He just missed it. Like he's still not there. That's kind of my thought on it.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. And I agree with that. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Well, because at the same time, it's like Hunter's they've all talked about it, like how many clicks out that he can hit a shot, right? Like he's deadly accurate, and that didn't look like that was that far away. And so he missed it because something, triggered him to miss. And so, but all right, well, we're going to end it here. So make sure to catch us into those next episodes. We're getting close to the end. So excited to see where we go with this.